Hi there. Welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you're used to hanging around here. If you're new, I'm Catherine. I live in Canada and I make journals out of old books. And right now I'm working on a book from 1896. And welcome to a little bit of my day. It's actually Tuesday, the 4th of July, so a happy 4th of July to my neighbors to the south, to my friends and family who are American. We have lots of family who are American now. I'm cleaning while I talk. Our daughter-in-law is American. We were lucky enough to have her, welcome her into our family when my son was very lucky to find her over on the other side of the world, and of all places, she was from New York. Very sweet love story. They were both teaching in London, England, and met and fell in love. And I had prepared myself that he was going to go over to England and fall in love with an English girl, and I was going to lose him to England. And instead, he fell in love. I mean, I was still going to be happy, because love is love. But I got the phone call the one day saying, I think I found her. And I said, oh? And he says, she's from New York. And I said, that's wonderful, because I figured New York, that's like a 9-hour drive. So New York is doable if they chose not to stay in England and come back, whether they came to Canada or whether they went to the US. That sounded doable. So anyhow, but plus I have other relatives who are American. My aunt and uncle moved there many, many, many years ago, so I have cousins, and now I've got second cousins and third cousins, and my great-grandfather, I cannot figure out whether he was born on the ship or whether he was born in Connecticut. But because some of the paperwork that I've found on him, and it's from the mid-1800s, so who knows, but some of the paperwork makes it sound like he was born on the ship on the way over, and some of the paperwork that he filled out later sounded like he considered himself very much an American. Whether he was born American or whether he was born on the ship and became American, I have never been able to find out. But I do know that he grew up in Connecticut and Hartford. So we had fun on the weekend. If any of you joined us, Nancy from Wishes and Weeds figured out how to split the screen for a live stream. And she was on one side and I was on the other, and she and I just gabbed the way we often do. We call it a crafty crush date. And we just usually we'll turn on our FaceTime and just chatter away while we work at our desks. So we just live streamed what we chatter when we work at our desks. And it was so much fun to have so many of you join us for it. So we will definitely do that again, because that was fun. So many of you saw the decision-making that went into finally finishing the spine for this William Morris book. It's hard to believe that the spine at one point was all this, and that it fell apart. It fell apart. This was the spine. Where'd it go? That was up there. I'm missing a piece. Oh dear. I still want to find a way to make use of this because it says urgent in there. Somebody wrote urgent on the spine, and it says Morris there. And it's also got the imprint where it says William Morris there. I don't know. I'll find a way to just sneak it in somewhere into a collage or something. But so it went from this. So it was wider. As you can see, it looks like it at one point it was a 1 3/4 inch spine. And I turned it into a 1 and it looks like it's 1 3/8 there, but by the time I do the text block, I've planned on it being 1 1/4, just to allow for room for the fabric and possibly the paper. I'm not sure. I'm going to decide whether I back this with paper once it's all sewn together, because I want it really floppy. And if I make the hinges too thick, and the hinges already have 2 layers of glue in there. There's a layer underneath this fabric, and then there's a layer of Mod Podge on top of the fabric. So I'm going to hold off on my decision as to whether this gets backing of paper or not. It's not absolutely necessary. I mean, if any of you who have taken apart an old book, some books, the text block is simply this. It doesn't have wings. It has straps that are holding it across. So, you know, these wings that we put on them, those of us who make junk journals this way, it's in a way, you know, a lot of bookbinders would say, oh, that's overkill. For me, it's how I learned how to first do a hidden hollowback spine. Thank you to Nick the Booksmith and her excellent courses, and I highly recommend them. There's even one that's very inexpensive, the first one that I took. I really, really highly recommend it. Go to her website. She spells her Nick N-I-K. In case you're so new you haven't heard of Nick the Booksmith, you need to know about Nick the Booksmith. And especially her very early videos, where she really concentrates on teaching the fundamentals of creating a book from scratch, not even necessarily restoring old books, but really creating from chipboard and making. At first she was making flat spines, and then she learned how to curve them, and she teaches these in all her courses that she offers. Well, she offers one course on hidden hollowback spines that I believe is $15 US. Like, you can't beat that. And it will teach you how to create a hidden hollowback spine and how to create the spine itself. Now, she doesn't do, I do my curving differently now, so that's why I feel I can tell that to you. But otherwise, I strongly urge you to go take her course, because I don't feel it's fair to take her course and then teach all her little secrets. But I do my curving differently. I prefer this way better. And I sort of figured it out my way from, I think it was Clemmy. It was either Clemmy or Pink Oddbird. She was making curved spines using a rolling pin, but she was using glycerin to soften her paper to get the curve. And I thought, I think we could get that curve at a stronger hold if I use either 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac, because it gives you lots of time to get it strapped onto the rolling pin or the doweling. This one I used doweling because I wanted a smaller curve. And again, that's why I feel I can share that, because I took what she taught, changed it a bit, and made it my own by using the 3-in-1 and the pantyhose and all that. She did the pantyhose. But Nick does hers very differently. She does her curve. But in order to create the hinges and all that, take her class. Plus she teaches it better than I could. I really don't think I'm the world's best teacher, and I shouldn't be saying that out loud. I homeschooled my children. How's that for a scary thought? I'm not a good teacher, but I homeschooled 5 children. But you know what? They've done all right in life. They all have very satisfying careers and went to colleges and universities and what have you, secondary education, I guess you call it. And they've done A-OK. So I did all right. Some I homeschooled right through. And I shouldn't say I homeschooled. They were autodidacts. I just made sure that they had access to the information. And I simply felt like it was my job to open up the world to them. Some people homeschool in order to isolate their children, and we did it for the exact opposite reason. We wanted to open up the world to our children. We wanted them to pursue whatever interested them and take it as far as they could. So we were at the library constantly, and this was before internet. It was just at the very ending of homeschooling that the internet started to happen. But prior to that, we were at the library several times a week, and we were at the zoo constantly. We had years pass to the zoo, so we could go to the Toronto Zoo, which is huge, whenever we wanted. My wonderful father-in-law, that was always our Christmas present. He would give us a family pass to the zoo. And that was great because we could go. We didn't feel like we had to see the whole zoo at once. We could decide, all right, what do we want to see today, and just focus on that. Or if they announced that the snake keeper was going to be doing a presentation and taking questions at a certain time on a certain day, we could go to that and plan on it, that sort of thing. And a lot of the things in Toronto, in order to get funding from the government, have to make themselves available to the public free of charge for certain days a year or during the week. So we made use of that, like the Royal Ontario Museum, Wednesdays from, I forget what time it was on, is free to the public. Same with the AGO and that sort of thing. Anyhow, I'm way off topic. I went from I'm not a good teacher to how we homeschooled 5 children. But they survived. I survived. And we all enjoy the good jokes that people like to say now about homeschoolers. Because you know what? People should be so lucky to be as smart as my kids are. And you know what? As well-rounded as they are. They're active in their community. I'm so proud of my kids. They're active in their community. They're active in our community politics. They stand up for what is right. They knock on doors during elections. And I'm looking for my I'm looking for my, what is it? It's like a quilter's ruler. It's just a little ruler, 6x3. I'm going to pause and find it. Well, I thought I was going to pause and find it, and yeah, that didn't happen. It's gone. As my little granddaughter Audrey used to say, gone. That was her answer to anything that she didn't know the answer to. You know, Audrey, where are your shoes? Gone. Audrey, did you clean your room? Gone. 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 Did you finish your dinner? Gone. All right, well, we're just going to eyeball this. This is a page, as you can tell here, out of the text block. There were a lot of introductory pages similar to this in various stages of it. I'd show you, but I have most of what I think the text block is going to be in my press right now. But this one I didn't need. It part of it was ruined because part of it had this sort of glued down to it, and so that's why the page looks like that. The page actually was this wide, and then it had this really terrible glue on it. Anyhow, what I want to do is I still want to make use of this, and I am going to make a teeny tiny label out of it. Part of me wonders if I have a label. I don't have very many label frames, and I don't think I have any that are long and skinny enough for that. This is really it for my label frames. I think I have 3. Yeah, I don't have that. Ow. Well, I shouldn't say ow. Well, maybe ow for my phone. Maybe that hurt it. We will find a way. I'll show you something else you can do instead. So I'm going to make a tiny little label, and I'm going to have it go sideways just up the side here on the spine. So this is really old paper, and sometimes if you use a craft knife on old paper, it will just buckle. It'll do an accordion thing and pull and buckle. I'm going to make this a bit bigger than I think I need because I can always make it a bit smaller. And then I'm just going to eyeball this side. So I hope you're doing well. On behalf of Canada, we apologize for the smoke coming south. On the other hand, we've had many times where we've dealt with smoke coming north. So I feel like as the human race and the humans who share the continent of North America, we really don't have to apologize to one another. We're here to take care of this continent we inhabit. And but on the other hand, I'm Canadian, so I'm going to say I'm sorry. We're dealing with it as well. It's not so bad where our house is, but my husband works in Toronto, or Toronto if you're from here, and it's bad in Toronto. So he comes home and his eyes are stinging and he's coughing, and he says it's not pleasant. So there we go. I had to make sure, and I already checked checked to make sure that that wasn't where it said 1897, because I've done that before and then cried. You know what? I guess I didn't have to be quite so dramatic about how I took all that off, because I could have saved some of that paper. It is nice and old. Mind you, I have a feeling it's going to crack. You know what? I'll worry about it later. It's one of those things that my eyes are doing the... No, I don't feel like doing that right now. I always have to be careful. Sometimes I push this instead, and then my blade goes flying off, which is not a good thing when your circular blade flies off your cutter. So here's what I want to do. I want to run that up the side, offside, like that. And I do think I want to make it smaller. So, and you know what? We're allowed to change our mind as artists. It's our prerogative. So let's bring this back. Let's find my tiny little... Oh, somebody's home. Hold on, I think somebody's home. It was hubby. He was, because he worked all weekend, he got let off first today. So that's nice. I'm going to make this smaller. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Oh, I guess this would help. I'm really excited to show you the signatures. I've put in some really interesting pages. It is an all sorts book. I gotta say, I think I'm slowly becoming an all sorts kind of gal. They're just my favorite to make, rather than a theme. I really, really love not being constricted. And if I do have a theme, that it's just a mild theme. And not, you know, just a little hint of it here and there if you look for it and go, oh yeah, look at this or that. Little mysteries. I'm just going to take this off this way rather than with the big round blade. There we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is a little trick that I learned from Barbara at 49 Dragonflies. When you want to put a little tiny, tiny frame around something small like this, is to just simply dab it on a ink pad. Sorry, I was dabbing and thinking instead of finishing what I was saying. And then it will give you a little bit of a line around the edge. I don't have a lot of room. I need to be careful that I don't get ink on my fingertips. All the children are off school up here where I live. We don't have year-round schooling in my area, because most of our schools are not air-conditioned. So, plus, because it still is a throwback to the days where the children were expected to be helping on farms and things, that part of the Education Act has never changed. Children were needed at home during the good months, the good weather months. There we go. So now you can see, hold on, there's a little frame around it, around the William Morris. So let's put William on, and I'm going to overlap him and run him up this way. And I think that will look nice. I was tempted to use distress ink to shade it a bit, but hold on, I need to look at it with my... I now realize my left eye, the world is yellow through my left eye. I was seeing the world through a yellow lens, a very pale. I was seeing the world through antique lace. This is exactly the shade. When I close my right eye, the new one that's fixed, and I look just through my bad eye, this is what color. Anything that's pure white, this is actually what color it is. And it just blows my mind. I almost would love to see some of my journals that have gone out into the world and actually see what color I made them. I hope they're all okay, you guys. Those of you who have rehomed my babies, I hope they're okay. I had no idea. I mean, I knew I had cataracts, but I didn't expect them to affect the come on, what color I was seeing the world. I guess it would help if I pinched it. My goodness, I'm losing it. Getting some paper just so I can, but now that I've looked at it through one eye versus the other, I do want a teeny tiny little bit of antique lace. So let's find my brush. Linen, antique linen, pardon me. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. Nope, I'm gonna have to leave it alone. If I push any harder, that black ink is still live. So nope, that's what it's gonna be. It is what it is, and that's okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and use 3-in-1. And I may do a funny little thing. Why did I put these away? Anna from Made by Grenath. Hi, Anna. And if you haven't had a chance, you should go visit her channel. And go visit her Etsy shop, see if she's got anything in it that interests you. She makes beautiful journals. I have one of Anna's journals, and they're beautiful. Anyhow, she's the one that I was talking about when I mentioned about these tweezers that I'm using here. And Nancy showed me hers. And Nancy's always a couple steps ahead of me, but you know what? I'm doing okay in this world if I'm just a few steps behind Nancy. I'm doing a-okay. Anyhow, it turns out Anna was online during our live stream. So that was nice. We didn't expect to do it. And so many of you were still able to join us. I thought we contained ourselves very well. Sometimes we can be a little bit, not sure what the word is. Nancy can think of the word. There, I like that. That way, if the daughter, Jean, maybe she was talented enough and had the supplies to after the spine did this, maybe she did this at first and then she put a new spine on the book or whatever. She still wanted to be able to see from the spine that it was William Morris. So maybe she wanted that so that when it's upright, it looks like that. Now, I'm thinking about putting, how am I for time? Oh, I'm at 32 minutes. Rats. You know what I want? I want to do something. Hold on. Okay, I did something just off camera to save time, so paused and did something. So I used some gloss gel. So acrylic gel mediums are also meant to be mixed with acrylic paint. And so I figured maybe I could mix it with like inks or, something else. So I had this. I bought it by accident. I thought I was buying the refills for antique linen, and I bought old paper. And of all things, it's green. I don't know if you can see here. It doesn't even, I don't know any old papers that are green. And I'm looking at that with my good eye. It's green. But in this case, it will give a bit of shading. I just don't like how white that label's looking. So I mixed it together. I took out a goop of it. That's an official measurement term. And mixed it together with one tiny drop, teeny tiny drop of the old paper. So now I'm going to just hope this works. Otherwise, I'm in huge trouble. my hope is that it's going to give a tiny bit of color, tiny bit of aging, and a tiny bit of gloss. These are really cheap Dollarama paintbrushes, and I should have trimmed these. Sometimes some of the bristles go wonky. Ooh, that's a bit thick, and I don't want to get it on the spine. And I'm nervous about getting it on the black in case it's still a little bit wet. There, I'm liking that. Okay. All right. Water bottle, or water jar, muck mess. Let's do a little quick tidy up. That has to go get washed. And I used you into the water. Okay, so that's much better. That looks a little older. Oh, let me, there we go. There, okay, I'm happy. I'm happy now. So, and I'm going to confess right now, I'm going to get it over with ahead of time because I said I wasn't going to do something and I'm doing it. I chose Paisley. I always like to go, almost always, I like just plain shades of beige fabric for behind my text blocks, so that it doesn't stand out, so that it fades in with the tea-dyed papers that mostly I use for my outer folios of my signatures. It's just me. It's just something I do. Once in a while I will use colorful. Anyhow, I said I wasn't going to use William Morris paper for end papers, but yeah, I caved. And oh well. I'm going to use this one. I like it. So I have those books of the wrapping papers that I found at my thrift store one day. It was as if like there was like 4 or 5 of them just sitting there saying, "These are for Catherine." Might as well have been on, a sign like the wonderful volunteers up at the Kirby bookstore when they put Art Lady sign on my little pile that they put aside for me. Okay, so there we go. That's it. That's all we did for all that talking, and I'm at 38 minutes. Oh my goodness. Chattering way too much. But it was nice to have someone to talk to. Thank you for joining me if you're still here. If you are still here, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and even say hi down in the comments. YouTube throws a little bit more at me so that I can pay for my glue when I lose half of it, because it likes to do this every once in a while. All right, have a great rest of your day, everyone, and we will talk very soon. Bye.